to Reddit on Reddit, the internet's auditory version of Reddit. I'm Nelson Allingham, joined by Michael Campbell.
Do you know what I don't think that we call out enough anymore? And maybe we should make it more known for the newer listeners, which is that we are still the longest running Reddit-based podcast on the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
And
can't beat us.
Unless someone does some incredible heavy lifting, like releasing episodes every day, I reckon we're somewhat safe in that for the time being.
Nah, if you release every day, you release more content, but you're not the longest running.
Well, actually,
the risk is, I think, somebody who started a podcast years ago, based on Reddit, and then releases another episode. They've got from then till now. That's then they would have to claim longest running.
That's true.
Know? It's just really long between episodes.
The problem is, as far as like amount of episodes, I think there are the Reddit podcasts that are just like automated voices reading Reddit threads. And we can't compete with the computers, obviously, for volume of episodes. But duration of started to still going. I think technically we are still the longest.
Yeah.
That's what we love. Right. A technicality.
A technicality. Yeah. That's right. It is worrying, though, that we can be replaced by computers because I'm pretty certain that based on what I've seen on YouTube and whatnot, where they do that, it's just read to text bots going through the most upvoted, posts. They have like way more views than I think we have listeners.
Yeah, that's true. People don't want all this.
This is how it starts.
People don't want all this personality peppered in, Nelson. We are the detriment to this show. The format is solid. We are the problem.
I've always thought it, but it's been confirmed. Yeah. Oh well. One of these days we'll have the upper hand on the computers. Canberra, when we destroy the net thing.
The what? The internet? Are you saying when we destroy the internet, or are you saying like Skynet? Is that what you're talking about specifically? Like the uprising of AI?
I was thinking Skynet, but now I'm thinking internet.
But then how do we release the show?
Well, the old-fashioned way.
Radio. We'll get like a pirate radio station going.
Yeah.
Anyone within a certain radius of Melbourne will be able to pick it up. We will lose a majority of our listeners.
Or we could be like town criers,
Oh, that's good. Town crier. Hear ye. This post is from...
Oh, wait. There won't be any posts. Ah, crap.
We're going to have to get people to tell us their thoughts. We have a town hall set up and we sit in there and people come in and they tell us what they were going to post on Reddit.
Yeah.
In the categories that we normally cover. And then once a week we go into the town and cry that.
It's really going to suck because, some weeks I'll go through Ask Reddit, and I might troll through, so many options. If we've only got a few people that are interested in us speaking in this cry away, one of the, we'll be like, oh, we need to Ask Reddit this week. And they'll be like, okay, I was going to say, doctors of Reddit, what's your most annoying patient been? And we're like, well, we can't use that one. Thanks. I appreciate it, but that's, we're not doctors. We can't help with this question. So.
The other thing is what we could do if we want to lean in the other way and embrace the robots, which is we'll just top and tail the show. So we'll be like, you won't believe this episode, and now let's get into it. And then the robot takes over, and they do all that stuff. And then at the end, we come back and go, oh, that was a good one, wasn't it, Nelson? I enjoyed shower thoughts this week. What a wacky time.
Honestly, I think we should give that a go. It's going to be one of my podnappings. Reddit. Okay, but let's get into it. This first one is by the Belsnickel, 1991.
Belsnickel. That's a reference to The Office or just the German Santa Claus. Belsnickel.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Okay. Yep. I definitely got that reference. this is in the subreddit Science, because occasionally I like to fool our listeners into thinking that we give some sort of educational content. And this is one of those times. So they've written and have linked an article, small blobs of human brain grown in a dish have been coaxed into forming rudimentary eyes, which respond to light by sending signals to the rest of the brain tissue.
I think the way that my brain immediately started to interpret this, I think is such a good indication of how unscientific my mind is. And it was surrounded specifically around the word coaxed, which is that I'm imagining this little blob of brain tissue and they're going, go on, grow eyes. Grow little rudimentary eyes.
I imagine something a bit more scientific and technical than that, Cambo. Two things are happening. One is the blob of brain is sitting in a room with TVs that have nothing on but eyes.
Yeah,
and there's a speaker that's just saying eyes, eyes, eyes.
But how can it hear with that ears?
They've done the ear thing first.
But how can they hear the ear?
There was a speaker saying ears.
Until it grew
I don't
ears.
know the science behind it, Gabby. It's just how it's done.
in my defense, in the example in which someone's saying, go on, grow eyes, that person is wearing a lab coat in my mind. And there is somebody behind them and they're pouring various liquids into various beakers.
Back and forth.
Back
it makes
and
no
forth.
sense.
No. Maybe there's someone looking in a microscope. There's scientific things going on. But yeah, I was imagining someone literally just like kind of, that way that you kind of lean down and put your hands on your thighs as if you're like coaching a young kid at football or soccer or something. Like, come on, buddy, grow eyes.
Yeah. A hand on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And
it's incredible though.
Yeah, it is incredible, and I feel like it's so cool. I love seeing science posts. Or just discoveries in general that are allude to, or I guess they make science fiction non-fiction.
They make it science fact.
They make it science fact because. The idea of sort of growing parts, I'm sure I've seen some sort of movie or little TV show episode, I don't know, Black Mirror or something, I don't know, where they've got, like body parts are being grown, which obviously there's many body parts that have already been grown in the past, but the fact that now it's going into like these specifics where hey, maybe if we get this to a point, we grow eyes to a point that they become perfect eyes, you can have an eye transplant, or maybe it's not even the full eye but like the cornea, that's a part of the eye. A cornea transplant. A lot of people need cornea transplants, Cambo. Trust me about this.
And in our defense, when you say that, we imagine the people that are claiming this are in lab coats. They're pouring liquids into beakers. It's very scientific. When they're saying people need corneas.
It just like I love that idea where things that have just seemed so ridiculous in the past seem really, it really does seem like science fiction, but it's coming to life. It's so cool. It's I think we even spoke about like last week or maybe the week before, or I don't know, maybe I dreamed. But the idea that like replacing organs, we could probably do everything. Talking about like immortality of humans, is probably about replacing each organ individually at a particular time with probably ease and low death rate. And I feel like part of that is growing organs in this way.
Yep.
And I just think that's really totally amazing. And
I'm cooking something up here, up in the old brain case, Nelson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Combines both this this idea of kind of the immortality and you living on through some kind of brain function, and the very first thing we talked about, which is AI taking our jobs. Do you think there's a way, we've done 250 odd episodes of this show now, that we could feed all of the audio into a computer and have an AI base conversations on what it predicts we would say?
Yeah.
And maybe even replicate our voices. Because, you know, they're high quality enough, the recordings are high quality enough. I think that it would be a passable audio sample. And then when we're long dead and gone, and we want this show to keep going on to still be the longest running Reddit-based podcast, it is just AI us talking about Reddit forever.
What's really good is occasionally we'll bring up the same anecdotes that we've done before.
Yeah.
So
it'll learn them.
It'll learn those anecdotes and just say them again. There'll be no new experiences because after a certain point, there won't be any new content to this show.
One day, the AI robot will go, do you ever tell you about the time I hacked into a kid from school's email and I emailed his mom and said I wasn't coming home and I was on drugs?
Yeah.
But then AI maybe hasn't heard that story.
Yeah. Or you'd be like, oh, yeah, I think you have. And I'll be like, I'll tell it again anyway because that's the show.
Yeah. I hope that
I do think...
I was going to say, I just hope that the AI learns to mispronounce a lot of usernames. That would be great.
Yeah. If it gets them spot on, it's not AI enough. Yeah. I think that we probably could get, there's the like deep fake audio. I can't remember what that's called. But I think there would definitely be enough, recording of us.
Oh, God, yeah. I think they said they need about 8 hours roughly of someone's voice. And we've got well over that.
Oh, my God. Let's do it. Okay. One of these days, listeners, it's not going to be us. We're going to write down the show. Maybe
for a segment. We'll just swap it out for a segment and see if anybody notices.
See if anybody knows.
Maybe it's this one. We are talking about AI a lot. Maybe that would be on the AI's mind.
Yeah. Do you think that just with this I think, like, do you reckon there's a point of like morality maybe in growing eyes?
Eyes?
And because obviously it's coming from blobs of human brain have grown the eyes, the rudimentary eyes. So, like, let's say we grew an entire face.
Yep.
We got ears and eyes and stuff. Like, at what point does
it become
consciousness come into it? And does it become a human? And
I take it that the brain isn't like cognitive at all.
Doesn't have any brainwave activity supposedly. Yeah. So
I think that ethically, it's okay because an eye and an ear, they're just vessels. Like, I know some people, like, when it comes to like organ donations and stuff, like, you can have everything, but I don't want the eyes, right? Like, the eyes are very personal, but I've always just seen them as like they're a vessel. They're
a thing.
Yeah, they're not particularly unique. They're not like a particularly unique snowflake. Someone else could have your eyes to benefit them. So, like, I think mine will be, when I die, it'll be like a fire sale. Just take everything.
Yeah. But the problem is, Cambo, you would have died in a fire, and they can't take anything. So.
Except if I'm dying in a fire, I'll close my eyes as tight as possible. Like, protect the eyes! I must give them away!
Yeah, you know what? That's smart and foolproof. You've done a good job there. No, but okay, because I'm thinking more about, maybe this is getting way more philosophical into the idea of like, what is consciousness? Because it's like, well, the brain, like, say for example, at the end of this, it says that the eyes respond to light by sending signals to the rest of the brain tissue, which obviously makes sense because you have to have brain activity, I guess, for the eyes to be working properly at all. So, like, if let's say there's just a big brain and all it's got is 2 ears, 2 eyes, a mouth and a nose, but sure, it can't talk. It's a vegetable otherwise, but you can play it music, and it responds to that, and it's obviously can respond to visual stimuli. Like, at what point is a blob brain
alive,
that's just receiving sensors alive in a sense?
It's a good question. Oh, do you want me to answer?
Oh, sorry.
Right.
That wasn't rhetorical. That
right.
was
Yeah. It's what's the point that pro-life people say about abortion? It's the same as that. However many weeks old.
Oh, okay. It's about weeks old.
Yeah, it's about weeks old.
But if it needs to grow like a full-size eye or whatnot, then nothing will be usable.
I'm not saying the logic stands up, Nelson, in my example or the pro-life example.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I asked you to answer it, and you did.
I did.
Don't know why I'm getting so up in your grill about it.
You're gonna have to get all the way off my back about this.
Much apologies, Campo. Anyway, let's get into Ask Reddit. Ask Reddit. This Ask Reddit was by Singing Punters, but it was cross-posted to us by Just Judging Reddit. What's going to be your back when I was a kid, I had to walk to school uphill both ways barefoot in the snow story to your grandkids?
Well, I wonder, how long do you think that our generation will be able to milk this pandemic for? Like, you kids have never lived through a pandemic. You don't know what it's like in a pandemic. And because they don't know what it's like, we can tell them all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Well,
you had the police knocking on your door every night, making sure you weren't infected. Just lie.
Yeah. They'd strip you down naked and look for boils. Isn't that what they did in the Black Plague, I think?
Maybe.
You
look out the window, you can see clouds of virus floating past. You had to stay inside to stay safe.
Yeah, we had to fashion spears out of our TV remotes.
They don't need to know about all this sitting around and watching Netflix.
Yeah. That's right. That's probably a good one. Although we know definitely the people that are going to say that the most are the people that are so anti, mask and coronavirus, denying people. They're going to be the ones that are talking down to the generation below them about how hard it was. But yeah, I think that's probably a good one. Yeah. I also think I think about the changes in technology that I've experienced in my life and kind of wonder in the future. I mean, a part of this is a little bit predicting, I guess, the future of humanity.
Is your one going to be the home phone?
Well, that I feel like already doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Like there's kids today that are like, no idea,
I don't even think it's kids that have no idea. Kids are like, I get it. It's dumb.
Yeah. Attached to a wall. What a fucking dumb idea. Yeah.
It's like, I feel like some people are like, you guys wouldn't even know what a home phone is. I think they can work it out. I think it's pretty obvious what a home phone is. Even if you've never used one, it's that there's just an obsolete idea.
I like to look at the more extremes, right, and see if I want to know if there is a world where computers enter schools far earlier. I mean, they already do than when we were probably younger. But to the extent where it's like, because if I think about it day to day, I barely write anything down on paper. And I want to know if that transcends to schools, and when we end up, and they'll be like, oh, look, you know what? It's almost unethical to get a student to write a 200-word essay or however long by pen. So we're going to make it mandatory that everybody writes out on the keyboard.
So instead of like, will it be back in my day?
Not saying that they won't teach how to write. That would be dumb.
Are you thinking like your thing will be back in my day? I had to get a pen license, and will the kids in the future get like a QWERTY license?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe that's it. You need a QWERTY license.
Yeah.
Because you start off with one of those really shit keyboards. It's like A, B, C, D, just the alphabet, but like from top to bottom, and it's terrible.
You graduate to a QWERTY.
Yeah.
That's a keyboard, just in case anyone doesn't know. That's a regular keyboard. Yeah. And then eventually you go to one of those weird ergonomic ones, with like they're like kind of raised in the middle, and they just look like you're trying to fly a spaceship or something.
Yeah. But no, I think the idea of like, just maybe exams in general. Like I remember sitting in a big hall, and you're all just writing down on a piece of paper, and everybody's like writing essays down.
Yeah.
On like pen and paper, and you've got so much time. I just kind of imagine that being the future of doing exams.
You're right. I also think this is slightly pandemic related again, but depending on how work situations end up evening out, the idea of a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 going into an office every day, I wonder how less regular that will become in like 30 years.
Yeah.
And they were like, for a majority of our younger life, it was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday in one specific place every single day, where I think it'll be probably a lot more mobile.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Work from anywhere and whatever times you want, basically. It's pretty interesting. But here's another one, Cambo. This is by Colourful Soul. What improved your quality of life so much you wish you did it sooner?
On a personal level, for this show, this audio interface that we got.
Yeah, we can press the buttons and everything happens.
Oh my God. This stopped us having to edit at all.
Yeah.
We did as little editing as we could, but this, we have the Rodecaster for those that are interested. It's fantastic. It's literally a one press button and all the sound effects are ready to go. Honestly, I love it. But the other thing for like actual, my personal life, honestly, is working out. I really wish I started working out earlier in my life. I reckon I started when I was like 25, 26. I feel way better.
Yeah. It's so funny, right? Because I had not the opposite experience, but what I mean to say is when I was younger, I was always quite fit, and I went to the gym actually a lot, even sort of before I got to a point where I felt like I needed to go. And then I stopped going and got fat again, and I was like, I should go to the gym and actually, do this thing. And it was like more of a realization thing. It's not like, I wish I had done it sooner, because I had already done it. But it was like, you idiot, now feeling better about yourself going to the gym.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do this like the whole time? You knew how good it felt, and then you turned into a fat blob. And but yeah, that's a good one, I think, in general, sort of exercising and looking after your body. I reckon a lot of people probably experience that themselves, where it
funny.
really does make such a difference to your life, I reckon.
It's funny how the longer you go, you start to care about things that you could never have cared less about before. Like, for instance, I know that over the last several years, like my resting heart rate has got quite low. And I reckon before I even started, I just wouldn't have even known what my resting heart rate was, nor would I have ever cared about it. But now whenever like occasionally I get like a full body scan, and they'll give you all the resting heart rate and stuff like that, and it'll come up as like, 48 resting heart rate or whatever. I'm like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I always think those things are funny anyway, isn't it? Right? Because they could sort of tell you anything and give you different benchmarks. Like, imagine everybody comes in. Not saying that it's not true, but like they could tell somebody that a heart rate of 100 resting is good. And then just change the system based on when they come in. Like, they're just arbitrary numbers, like, unless you compare it to other people. I feel like, oh my God, I've just come up with a business idea. We put people on some sort of diet plan, something or other, give them a system that measures certain levels of yada yada bullshit that doesn't exist. And we show that their numbers improve over time regardless.
So be like, oh, your oxygen levels have absolutely spiked here. But that's really, I've not seen anything that impressive outside of professional athletes.
I think we should say things like your oxygen level, you know? Where they think, oh, did they mean oxygen? And we don't correct them, you know? Because we don't want to get caught with a legal loophole, you know? Oxygen is just your aura, you know? That we've decided. Can't let people get us on a technicality.
I like the idea of adding real words, but combining two of them together that don't mean anything, like a stamina threshold. Like, they're two real words, but together mean absolutely nothing. But if someone told me that I had a really impressive stamina threshold, I'd be like, wow, that sounds impressive.
That does sound impressive. Yeah. Or on the flip side, I like the idea of saying, you really need to improve your stamina threshold. Just imagine how, like that's a panicky sort of thing to be like, oh my God, my stamina threshold. Oh my God, that sounds like I could die at any moment from laziness. Is what that kind of sounds like. But what I did for this one, Camber, as well. I actually went through some of the comments and added a few on because I thought it'd be interesting to see what other people have changed in their life, and perhaps if we agree or have similar examples of that. This first one was by Pullbang. Pullbang. They said, stop working more than 40 hours a week.
Maybe someone has recently read The 5-Hour Work Week.
Yeah, this is probably way easier to say than it is to do, you know? Yeah, I think it would be great, but not many people... Well, I mean, if you do want to do that, then you absolutely can, and you'll earn less straight away. And if you're happy to do that, that's totally fine. If you can... The goal is, you know, the secret is finding a job that'll pay you the same amount for working way less.
It's also job dependent, because let's say you're a doctor, for instance. And maybe it is your day off, but something has happened and they need all hands on deck at the hospital, and you can't go, I've been trying to work less than 40 hours a week lately, actually, so I might sit this one out. Like, I don't think that there are some jobs that occasionally are just going to be busier at certain times. What if you're a fireman and there's a huge fire going, but you've already done your 40 hours a week down at the station? I don't think you're going, oh, I don't know, guys. Not today, actually.
There is a way, I'm not sure what it's like for firemen, but for doctors to get out of this. They have a Hippocratic oath, you know, which is like, look after people, blah, 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 no matter what. If you just don't do that. Don't agree to that oath. Don't swear by it.
Yeah, you just kind of mouth it.
Yeah, you mumble a little bit while it's happening. You know, I imagine they do like a class full of people at a time or something. You know?
Yeah, we don't know enough about the process, but if there's multiple people taking it at once, you can definitely get away with, like I'm sure a lot of people do in like school choirs and stuff. It's just pretend. Pretend you're doing it too.
Yep. I did it on my saxophone concerts many a time, Cambo. No one was the wiser. Except for my parents afterwards, who were like, you definitely weren't playing. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know the songs, didn't practice at all. Here's another list by Senior Evidence 4642. You young kids will think this is crazy, but I am glad to have gotten older. All those things that worried me when I was in my 20s just don't matter anymore. I'm 67 now and much happier.
Nelson, as a young person, I think this person's crazy.
What a crazy person. No, I totally agree with this one as well. I think, I think it's not, it shouldn't be, it's not really an age thing. Like it's weird because really what they've said is, actually, I'm going to link it to this next one and I'm going to say this is from Illustrious Mixture 8. And they've said, learning to get over myself. Nobody cares what I do. Nobody's looking at me. And why should I care if they are? Nobody outside my circle has enough context to make accurate judgments about how I live. So how am I trying so hard to justify my decisions? As soon as I adopted that mindset, being alive got significantly less shitty. I do my best to be a decent person and take care of myself. And the only opinions I care about are mine, my partners, and my therapists. And I think that's more to the this person's the earlier person is glad to have gotten older because I feel like they learned the lessons that the latter has kind of explained. It's not really age that gives you this thing. It was wisdom, I think. And traditionally wisdom comes with age, but if you can gain that before you're older, maybe, and care a little bit less about what people think of you and whatnot, then I think you'll lead a much happier life.
I think you and I learnt fairly early in our lives that if you laugh at yourself, you are a bit more bulletproof to like feeling actual bad when people laugh at you kind of thing. We both make fun of ourselves all the time. And we don't have a whole bunch of shame. This show is a testament to that. I think we admit all kinds of weird stuff on this show. But we've been doing that for quite some time, and I do think that there are people that do hold on to self-importance a little bit with things like that. And it's a microcosm of what this person's talking about, I think. It's just like, who cares? Like, who, in the end of the day, we're all going to end up in a hole in the dirt, and no one will remember us in 50 years anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, that's right, yep. I think that's... Why? Do you know, it's funny though, right? Because I have sort of a opposite reaction to this a little bit as well, which is, and we've known in the past, like other listeners will remember this, and you've given me crap about this before, which is like, I don't really give a crap about what clothes I wear. Like, I could not give a beeswax. I just made up a saying then. About... what sort of how I in general look like. But I think there's been times, probably even in only the recent past, where I buy a nice shirt that I like, I put it on, I'm like, oh, I actually quite like this, and I like the way it looks on me, and you can bring about a bit of confidence when I'm going out or whatnot. So it's like, well, I already acknowledge that I don't care about what I look like to kind of other people. I dress for comfort way more than anything else. But maybe sometimes I should allow myself to... I need to allow myself to care about how I think of myself, if that makes sense, Because it's not always about not caring about other people. It's also about caring about yourself.
Yeah. I think that's a really good lesson to learn. Because you're right, like dressing well is kind of frivolous, right? Like it doesn't necessarily do anything, but there is something about caring about yourself enough to be like, you know what? I'll just take a little bit extra time and effort to present well as well. Like there is something mentally about that does kind of like, especially working from home, right? There are days where I will just wear tracksuit pants and a big oversized jumper or whatever, be super comfortable. Then there's other days where like I will go the extra step, which is like the bare minimum of like I wear a pair of jeans and maybe a button up shirt or something like that. Yeah. And those days I'm always just slightly more impressed with myself that I did something a bit extra. It was like, look at me, huh? I'm staying home, but I'm still dressed okay.
Yeah, exactly. I will never get to the point, Camber, of spending $700 on jeans, though. Well, that's insane. I don't know what people are doing when they spend so much money on that stuff. You doing that for yourself? I don't know.
The problem is with clothing as well is there is a tipping point of too expensive, but also there is like, if you were to actually source ethical clothes, it's also way more expensive than I think it would regularly. Like, say you can get a pair of jeans for like $35 down at like a huge department store or something like that. You can also get like designer jeans for $700. Where is the point where you're getting them from like an ethical source that isn't exploiting labor, but also, and the quality is good, but also you're not just paying for a price tag. You need to go somewhere in that middle ground.
I mean, I'm not betting that the $700 jeans are
ethical.
Not exploiting somebody anyway. Like,
yeah, it's a good point.
That it's almost more of a red flag to me. Like, this is,
yeah. If anything, your profit margins are just way bigger.
Yeah. I'm going to briefly go through the other ones, but we should definitely move on. But I'll gloss over the next ones. Alternative Rep 4728 said, cutting out toxic friends. After years of knowing something, it can be hard to see that they are no longer the person they were when the relationship started. My childhood best friend grew into a manipulative, selfish prick. Oh my God, this sounds like you, Cambo. For years, I hung out with him almost every day after work and always felt miserable afterwards. Everyone around questioned it. Yeah. But yeah, I think toxic friends is always good.
Tack on to that, I would also add toxic fandoms. Cut them out of your life. Even if you like something, I love Star Wars. Yeah. I don't go into any Star Wars discourse with any fans because it gets real toxic real quick. I love it. Still love it. But you know what? You can just cut out toxic fandoms.
Yeah. That's a great one, actually. Third Rocker one said, permanently placed my phone on Do Not Disturb, but in bracket, allow calls from contacts. This one change saved me from constant disruptive, unwanted calls. Life is good on No Ring Lane. I sort of disagree with this one, but I don't know. Maybe this person was receiving more unsolicited calls than I am, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it's like, I find it weird some people are uncontactable from people other than their own contacts. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's actually, I don't know, it's like closing you off a little bit. It's just kind of a bit, I don't know, strange. I mean, whatever suits some people. But I don't think so.
On phone things, though, just quickly, I do run my phone on low battery mode, even if it's fully charged. I just love the extra juice that a low battery mode will get you.
Oh, the extra juice. Yeah. That's what I'm all about. One more. It's time for Mofo. Said, going to the gym. Oh, never mind. We went over this.
It's again, the not proofreading is struck again.
Let's go into Today I Advice. So now it's time for Today I Learned. Today I learned. And also sometimes advice. This Today I Learned is by Sweet T-Rex 92. Today I learned the McDonald's Corporation quietly phased out Ronald McDonald, the company's clown mascot, due to the 2016 Clown Scare video fad. Now, can I just quickly say something here?
Yeah.
I actually read this article, which I very rarely do with Today I Learned or anything in Reddit. But this person is just wildly misread the article, because at the very in one of the last few paragraphs it said, also there was a clown scare video fad. Yeah. They didn't want to be associated with that. But there was this long running history of how Ronald McDonald was slowly getting phased out. Yeah. And that was it was literally, I think, a sentence in the article.
It would be more, I mean, welcome to the world of clickbait, essentially, is what they've done.
Yeah, that's right.
But it would be weirder and more on the nose if all the other characters were still around and prominent in all McDonald's marketing and the clown had gone. You'd be like, I see that. But I think they just went away from mascots. Years and years.
Well, one of the things this article said, and I would just my own opinion of it, how I've seen, sort of mascots surrounded this thing is due to sort of the public catching on that fast food was unhealthy for you and causing obesity. in particular, in fact, I think one thing that kicked it off the most was the Super Size Me documentary. I reckon you could almost draw a line in the sand from like pre, Ronald McDonald characters to post was on either side of that documentary coming out, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure I've said on the podcast before, but I hate that documentary. I don't think it's actually a very good true representation, but
that doesn't matter. It did what it set out to do, didn't it?
It did what it set out to do. Yeah, not to say that McDonald's food is healthy either, but I think it's so funny and like a smart move. The like sort of advertising marketer in me loves little things like this, where I love companies that just kind of have done research, worked out what's the first time was to get people. When they put the mascots in, when they put Ronald McDonald in, that's like, because we want more kids to eat our food,
Yeah.
And then it got to the point in history where they're like, actually, now studies have shown we should get rid of this because we don't want to be seen as coaxing kids into eating.
That's what I was going to bring up, is I like to think that in the McDonald's office, maybe they were fielding a call from a senator or something somewhere. They've just seen Super Size Me, and they say, McDonald's unethical. You're targeting your product towards children. And they're like, no, we're not. And they kind of put the phone down and go, get rid of the clown. Get the clown out of here. We're not targeting towards children specifically. I don't know what you're talking about there.
Yeah. And in hindsight, Grimace was a terrible character to put in. Like just a massive obese character that basically didn't have any form of a body.
At least it was more honest. Grimace is the most honest.
Yeah, most relatable.
Grimace is the best representation of McDonald's because it's just a weird fat blob. It's like, feed enough. But is it okay for us? Are we divorced enough from the company we used to work for enough to talk about the nom noms?
Yeah, let's do it.
One of the worst decisions I've ever seen anywhere.
I honestly think like it really came at a time.
Well, let's provide some context. We used to work for a cinema chain, and they went to like a very fancy marketing company, and they were pitched the idea and brought, for I'm going to assume a lot of money, the concept of the Nom Noms, which are all their candy bar items as animated characters. So you had an animated popcorn box, an animated soda drink, an animated hot dog, an animated nacho. An animated Choc Top as well. And they all have their own characters and personalities, and they spent a lot of money marketing the Nom Noms, which is what they were called, to one of the worst reactions from everyone I've ever seen.
It was just such a bizarre time. Like that again is kind of I love this stuff too in that marketing center of my brain, where it's like these people have just so obviously missed the mark because they don't understand why something works and why it doesn't. Yeah. Like the idea of mascots and stuff is like that time was well over. This wasn't like back when Ronald McDonald. This
is shockingly recent.
I don't know. I want to say like
it's so
5
recent.
years ago.
It's so recent that when Melbourne was open for that 1 week, a couple of weeks ago, Stacey and I went to the movies at this cinema chain, and we received a popcorn box that was Colonel Corn, the popcorn character. Okay, like cool. the boxes and stuff are still in circulation.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and there was even a phase because we were working at sites back then where they tried to change the word like combo or meal or anything to the word nom nom, so people would have to say, "I would like a medium nom nom, thanks."
Yeah, that's right. Oh my god, yeah, that was so terrible.
But it was embarrassingly out of date. It looked like something from 1994, but it was in like 2014.
And what's so like disappointing is the amount of people that would have to go through for approval that were just complicit, basically. It's like you idiots. Like why did not one person be like, hey, let's just take a step back, this is a terrible idea. I actually know that sort of a little bit more behind that, which is basically they went to, I think, a few advertising agencies and said, pitch us your idea. I think, we want to market to kids more.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who works in an advertising agency, and he said the number one thing they'll do, and what's brilliant, is they will, an advertising agency, is they will try to convince you to totally break down what you've got in place and build from scratch. And the reason is so that they can control that entire sort of marketing dynamic that you have. Wow. So I think that's kind of what went on here.
Yeah. They got fleeced.
Is like, yeah, exactly. They were like, oh, look, this is a, it was room for them to come in and he's like, my friend in advertising is like, because I think we were speaking specifically about the nom-noms. He said like, this is just them throwing darts at a wall.
Yeah.
And hoping something will stick and that it'll do well enough that you kind of keep them on the books and they'll get more money and they'll sort of work around this idea. And like, unless it's a super failure, which with this one was, they can potentially earn tons of money because they've redesigned what your look is and what you're going for there.
I had heard stories about the chairman of this company hating this idea, but it was kind of like it would like circumvented him, and him angrily being in the foyer of a cinema. Like he went out to the foyer of a cinema and was stopping people and like held up signs being like, "What do you think of this? Do you like this?" They're like, no, not really. It's like, I knew it. I knew people didn't like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy times.
It could be worse, Canberra. We could have had Jared from Subway.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as mascots go, I think if you hit rock bottom when you get Jared. You know what? Pretty swift of Subway to get rid of him so quickly, though. I reckon they actually got away pretty unscathed.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we're just going to drop him from all our stores and that'll be it.
In fact, like, they're potentially... Obviously, we haven't gone into Jared from Subway, but potentially they got away with it so unscathed that there is possibly people listening being like, "Why? What happened to Jared from Subway?"
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, he was a pedophile. So that's that story.
Yeah.
All right, Cambo, I think we should move on to shower thoughts.
Shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts, shower thoughts.
This shower thought is by O. Hagen. Sometimes a good friendship coming to an end is worse than any breakup.
Well, it depends. Like, when they say coming to an, like, I would say there are people I was close friends with that have drifted apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. Like, that's just life diverging and a thing. And I don't think I've ever been like, oh man, whatever happened there? I think everyone's ignored. But I assume in this circumstance they're saying big fight, fallout, friendship over kind of thing.
Yeah. So this what sometimes, Campbell, on this show, I'll bring up a point just to disagree with it.
Okay, yeah. Go, have at it.
This is one of them. I think that it is extremely rare that people have a huge fight with their friend and it blows up and like, bam, that's the end of the relationship. I would say most of the time it's a slow, like, separation of friendships like you suggested. I think even sometimes you might have a fight. And then from there it slowly gets, more and more distance. I think it's like incredibly rare that you're like, one fight, bang, over, friendship's done, and it's like, and so that you kind of remember from one day to the next what that friendship was like, and then what you've missed, like that can be obviously really hurtful, I guess, or heartbreaking. But like breaking up with a partner is so much that like you have to do it that way. You can't be like, well, let's just occasionally sleep together for a bit and slowly get
drift apart.
Yeah. It's like It's like if you were to, instead of drift back, because really what happens in a relationship is you slowly drift apart for so long that you end up having to say, all right, it's now over at this point. But up until that point, you've potentially most of the time like seen them almost every day or whatnot, and just having that sort of comfort there is so consistent. Whereas I feel like you don't always get that such consistency with friends. Like, I don't know. I just thought this was like not really the same.
Let me put this to you, Nelson. How do you feel about losing friends because of a breakup? So you were friends with someone that was friends with the person you were dating, and then you break up and you can't really hang out with that person anymore.
That's a really good question. Okay, this is going to sound funny. But I was talking to Ella, my girlfriend, and we were talking about you and Stacey and how, I actually knew Stacey before you, but I wasn't really friends with her at all. I'd only spoken to her maybe a handful of times. And we just got on to like, if you split up, what would happen. And I was like, I would absolutely still be friends with Stacey now. Like, I consider her a really close friend now, even though that was kind of the way. And unless there was something, I can't imagine the scenario, but I can't imagine a situation where you're like, hey, don't talk to Stacey ever again. yeah. Because I'm like, no, she's a really good friend now, so screw you. Yeah. So I think that's almost why I'm trying to, nullify your point by saying that, well, they're not good enough friends until a point where I'm going to keep the relationship regardless of my, my.
So really you only lose like maybe some good acquaintances, but not close friends.
Yeah. That's what I think in general. I do know some people that I've seen that like make really good friends with their partner's parents.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And that's, could be weirder to like catch up with,
Yeah.
Like if you broke up with Stacey and you're like, I want to still keep you in touch with your mum and dad though. That's like a weird kind of thing.
Obviously, I'm still going to go see Rolly and Kerry every other weekend.
Yeah. That's right.
We'll alternate weekends so we don't run into each other. Yeah.
I think though ultimately you will miss Megs the cat the most. I think
only time will tell.
Yeah. Well, break it off now and see how you feel about Megs the cat. Just so we know for science reasons.
Yeah. Never been closer than returning him than the other week.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Because so we Stacey and I had our first dose of vaccine, and we got the AstraZeneca. And there's like a weird side effect that happens the next morning. It's been pretty uniform for everyone I've talked to, which is you wake up really early, and you're very, very, very cold, and you ache absolutely everywhere. Mm-hmm. So this happened to us the morning after, and it almost feels like a really, really bad hangover as well at times. And that was the morning that cat decided to wreak absolute havoc. Both when we were at least equipped to deal with it. And I've never been closer to putting him in a basket and going, I'm taking him back. We got him from the RSPCA. We can take him back to the RSPCA.
Yeah. Or the local river, Throw him in. He'll make his way.
Yeah.
Here's another one. This is by Join the Astley Cult. Possibly the saddest thing in life is that no one but you will ever know you and understand you absolutely.
I don't think this is true.
Yeah. Do you think it's not true in the sense that it will be it's the saddest thing, or that you think that people will know you absolutely, like that people do know you absolutely?
In a contradictory way, kind of both. One, okay. I think that like it depends what you mean by know absolutely. Like that is a term that is malleable, I suppose, because what does it take to know someone absolutely? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Like is it just like being so close that you can predict what someone will say about something? Is that knowing them absolutely, that you can almost be predictive of their behavior? Because if that's true, I think that you and I have been friends for long enough that we could probably pretty good estimation of how each other would react to things. So do we know each other absolutely, or is there a different definition? And if that isn't the definition, then I don't think it's that sad, because that's how everyone is. And maybe there's something kind of nice about having something that is just you.
Yeah, that's true, I think. Yeah, maybe that it's nice to have something that's on your own. Yeah. I think that it could be... I mean, I do sort of see that this is probably coming from a place where maybe... I don't want to make assumptions here, but I'm going to perhaps assume that this person is a little bit younger, because I think that you maybe, in your younger years, find it more important to hide parts of yourself, I think. I also think, in particular, people with... things like depression and things like that feel like it's important to hide parts of yourself that are sort of core parts of their being, you know, like something that you are upset that somebody doesn't know that about you, but you don't feel as though you can express it because in fear of, I don't know, getting teased or something for... You know, liking D&D, for example, could be so like you could be a closeted D&Der for your whole life, and that could be a sad part. So yeah, I mean, I think I sort of agree. I sort of agree and disagree with this. Maybe saddest isn't the right word I'd use, but I think in general you can get to know somebody and you can get comfortable to allow people to know you to a level that's basically understanding you absolutely. And maybe if you feel this way, you should think about just being yourself a bit more. Yeah. Around other people, maybe. Who knows? Okay, but I think we should move on and get into podnapping.
Oh my god, I'm being podnapped!
Podnapping.
This is Podnapping, where we nap a pod. We take a topic of conversation or a segment from another podcast and we do it ourselves, right, Cambo?
Yes, this week is my week, and this won't surprise you, Nelson, but I'm not podnapping a podcast. Instead, I've decided to forego my podnapping to help others. Because
you cheated. Yeah,
I've cheated. Yeah, and the good thing is I can keep this ongoing. If all goes well, this could replace podnapping for me for some time, which I'm very excited about.
/ me. Don't think that,
I've got
just because you've found some sort of weird loophole. Really, what you've just done is given up. You're a quitter.
I've not given up, but I have put it on a pretty permanent hiatus for the foreseeable future. But here's the thing. I wanted to take the podnapping time and give it a chance with one of our listeners, because the most coveted thing that any of our listeners can achieve is the status of Fuckhead podcast listener. And it's so coveted.
Which really tells you a lot about their life, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. You know? Maybe it's a harsh indictment of the people that listen to the show. But it's so exclusive that we only have 2. Of all of our listeners, only 2 people have ever become Fuckhead podcast listeners. And I wanted to make sure that we're giving people the chance. So I've decided to invent a game show. And this game show will allow somebody else to become a Fuckhead podcast listener. I put it out on our Discord, and we had a hand up, and it was Mitch. Mitch, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Great. Do you want to play for the chance to become a Fuckhead podcast listener?
Oh, well, of course. Why else am I here?
Great. That sounds good. I've created a little segment. So here we go. This is Who Wants to Be a Fuckhead podcast listener? Welcome to Who Wants to Be a Fuckhead podcast listener, the only game where a single question could get you the coveted status of a Fuckhead podcast listener. Now, yeah. Woo.
I'll do the audience.
Yeah,
part.
Great.
I'll do it next time. Don't worry.
Now, Mitch, this game is both very simple and possibly very difficult, because I have gone onto a website, and what it does is, the click of a button, it generates a completely random trivia question. We don't know what it's going to be, and you have no time to research it. But here's the thing. You get that question right, you become a Fuckhead podcast listener instantly. And if you become a Fuckhead podcast listener this way, it means no one else can ever do it again. Do you agree to these terms?
Yes.
Great. How's your knowledge on absolutely everything I should check?
So let's just say I struggle with the age quiz every day.
Oh, good. Nelson, I don't fear that we'll be having to give away too many Fuckhead podcast listener positions today then.
That's correct. Yeah, I just want to maybe ramp up the tension a little bit.
Yep.
Now, Mitch, you were on our podcast last week as well. You were a part of Radio Survivor. Now, I'm not sure if you've had a chance just yet to go back and listen to it, but if you did or if you do, you'll find out that a lot of people voted against you in the end because you claimed to be a Fuckhead podcast listener and you weren't, or at least that was misconstrued.
They misinterpreted it.
I know. I actually admit I listened back to it and I was like, oh, I don't think that's actually what you said. You just said you listened to the podcast the most, but they misheard you. But anyway, here is now your chance perhaps to exact revenge.
Yeah.
And get that title.
You'll be able to dunk on the haters, so they say.
Yeah, and then you can permanently ban those people from the Discord because that's a new perk that I've come up with.
I like the idea of ratcheting up the tension. I like the idea because I think there should be some consequence. Nothing too harsh because Mitch has kindly agreed to join us. But I think that if you are to get the question wrong, maybe that's a 1 month before you can try again.
Oh, okay.
That's a fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's ratchet
I thought a
up.
hazing of sorts. I just thought we throw a couple of insults at him.
I mean, either. We can do that too, Nelson.
Okay.
Or, it's my shout next time we catch up.
Or that. You know what? All of the above.
Wait a second. It's one or the other.
Okay. So are you ready? I'm going to get this question up. I'm going to set the mood a bit first. Okay. Now, I'm going to hit generate on this random trivia question generator. And whichever question comes up, you have one chance to answer in a reasonable time, I would say as well. Just to make sure, you're not Googling and whatnot. Because we have no way to check against that. So, are you ready?
To be honest.
Yeah, great. Honesty system. We're not against court-martialing someone that's become a Fuckhead podcast listener. I think our past is proof of that. So are you ready for me to hit generate and get a random question for you?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Generating now. Okay. The category is science. How do you feel about science, Mitch?
Oh, well, a lot better considering what I do for a living.
Great. Okay. Well, the question is this. Which US company invented fiberglass in 1938?
Holy shit.
Oh, jeez. It had to be a boating company. Who makes boats?
Who makes boats?
Malibu.
Okay. I'm going to give you one chance to change your answer if you'd like to, or you can lock in Malibu.
I'm going to lock in Malibu because I got no idea.
Okay. You've locked in Malibu. That is incorrect. I'm sorry, Mitch. The answer was obviously...
You piece of shit, you suck.
The answer was
Sorry,
obviously...
I was doing the hazing thing we agreed to do.
Owens Corning, of course, Mitch. Owens Corning was the US company that invented fiberglass.
Damn.
Yeah.
That was a hard question. But you know what? It should be. It should be hard.
Okay, you know what? This won't count towards it. I'm going to generate the next one to see whether or not that was an outlier hard one or whether or not they're all quite hard. See, I'm
Mitch,
just...
if you get this one, then you should be extra disappointed because it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
It doesn't count. Mitch, I've hit generate again. The category is entertainment. How do you do in entertainment?
Oh, God. I'm screwed.
The question is, which legendary Hollywood cowboy was born Leonard Slile in 1911?
Yep. I'm totally boned.
Legendary Hollywood cowboy. Who's the biggest legendary Hollywood cowboy you can think of?
Well, the biggest one I can think of definitely wasn't born in 1911.
Do you want
Wait,
to?
are we talking about an actor or like
It's an actor.
Cowboy?
No, an actor. An actor cowboy. Born in 1911 with the real name Leonard Sly.
So that would put him...
I get the sense that you're delaying the inevitable because you have no idea.
Yep, I have no idea.
Yes, obviously it was Roy Rogers, everyone's favorite Hollywood cowboy.
Obviously,
Roy
Roy
Rogers.
Rogers.
Roy Rogers,
Come
of course,
on,
of course,
Mitch.
of course.
This is so obvious.
Look, Mitch,
Obviously, I'm not allowed to make comment until the answer is revealed.
Obviously,
but I did know that.
we were backing you there to know Roy Rogers, like we obviously knew Roy Rogers. Look, unfortunately, no Fuckhead podcast listenership for you this week. That being said, in a month's time, after you've shouted a drink and we've hazed you a bit, you can try again. Unless within that month, someone else gets one of these questions right, and then that way's bricked up forever.
Well, no one better get it right.
Well, this is the thing. Given the questions that we've generated so far, there shouldn't be a problem.
Unless someone cheats.
Unless someone cheats, but we do encourage them not to, obviously. Very strongly encourage them not to. But we have to get onto our letters segment. But thank you for joining us, Mitch. And hopefully we'll see you in about a month's time for your second attempt.
Thanks, guys.
Now it's time for the Ask Me Anything, where listeners of the show, just like you, listener, can write in and ask us anything you want.
Yes, go and hear from Raza/Limbo. It says, "Hi, I would like to start a podcast, but I wouldn't want to start a podcast that hurts this podcast." Very good. Do you have any podcast ideas that I could do? If a listener would want to host a podcast with me, DM me on Discord. P.S. If any of you want to join, that's fine too. Raza-Zlimbo.
Zlimo.
Zlimo, sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I keep saying Zlimbo. I don't know. And then it says, my Discord tag is superslime #6358. Then
I also added on an extra one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They emailed again. Said, in my last email, I asked if anyone wanted to make a podcast with me, and as I heard right now, someone named May from Poland wanted to start one too. So my question of the week is, can you get me in contact with them? And also, I claim the title of bi correspondent. Slimo.
Alrighty. Thank you, Slimo. Well, I would say we don't like to put effort in. So here's what's happened. By virtue of reading your email, we've technically put you into contact with May.
Yep.
And May, if you haven't already joined the Discord. So
yeah. Well, you've got a Discord tag there.
It's good to do a good job.
The question is, Nelson, do you have a podcast idea that you've thought of, but then been like, I'll never do it, that you can hand off?
I should just get somebody from our listeners to do that and claim royalties from. Yeah. Actually, first I'd like to just address the... so I feel like over time we gave so much crap to the Reddit podcast that there might be a legitimate fear that people are worried about starting something that thinks that it might rival this podcast in any way, shape or form.
That's a good point.
Please don't think that at all. We really don't care. And you're welcome to start anything. We will obviously boycott you from this show.
We actually...
you, but
our actions will signify the opposite of this, but we actually very much encourage people to have a creative outlet and try anything. You know what? Perhaps the Reddit was just a test of character. If they continue, we would have said we respect that. We put you under the fire and you kept going. We have no choice
they
but
failed.
to
failed.
Yeah. So I look forward to a
if
second.
you do, damned if you don't.
I look
Basically,
forward to a second episode of Reddit hitting the podcast stream soon.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
They better not.
But maybe they should. It could be a test.
But don't do it.
Anyway, I don't know why people are getting mixed signals. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's very clear. But anyway, okay, podcast idea. I don't know. I've always wanted to do. I think I'd love to do a gaming type podcast. But see, the problem is, and this is just a personal thing, is I feel I won't be happy with a podcast unless it has a unique element to it. Yeah. That's just my own thing, right? So I think, like, for example, there are a gazillion different game review podcasts. And yeah, I'd be happy to do a game review podcast, but I need something in there that's going to, like, make me stand out from anything else. I think we kind of lucked into the fact that there weren't really
that many Reddit-based podcasts.
Reddit-based podcasts, and the ones that kind of were not the same format as this, I guess. And so that's why this one I think has kept going. So if I could find that kind of that thing that separates it, then maybe I'd be interested in doing it. And also, you need to find, I think, the right person to do it with. I definitely couldn't do a games podcast with you.
No, but
wait, maybe that could be it, Campo. A games review podcast where one of them generally doesn't like games.
Yeah.
You know?
That is an interesting, unique idea. Unfortunately, it was an interesting, unique idea when Conan O'Brien started doing it on his show.
Yeah.
So I think it's called Clueless Gamer, in which someone comes in and plays a video game with him, but he's very bad at video games and doesn't know anything about video games, and they have to explain it to him as he plays.
Yeah. That's true.
I would say this is my advice, and I hope this doesn't come off too cliche, but it's genuinely what I believe, is that if you're going to create a podcast, you should really think about the one that doesn't exist that you really wish did. And that is the one that you should make. So from memory, when we started this, obviously we wanted a way to keep hanging out because we weren't working together anymore. We weren't living together at the time, and we wanted to keep catching up. But at that time, you were getting quite into Reddit. And I remember you saying when you're at work, you wish that you could still be on Reddit, kind of like finding out things on Reddit and discussing it. So this became that. It's like, this is for people. If you want to be on Reddit and find out what's trending on Reddit, but you have to do something else, you can still kind of do it via us. And then similarly with Cancel Movie Report, the same thing. Whenever Eden and I were talking, we would track down all the information we could find on movies that never happened. But every time we're like, we just wish someone would like do them a bit more, you know? Like, why don't you create
it all together?
And then one day we're like, wait a minute, why don't we do? Like, that's what we should do. So I think you should find that. Are there shows that you listen to, you're like, oh, I like it, but I wish someone would do this specific thing, and that's what you should do.
I actually, and this is going to maybe sound bad and discouraging, but please don't take this the wrong way. But I actually don't think starting with I want to do a podcast is good. I think that you need the topic,
the spark.
That needs to be what you're passionate about, not about passionate about wanting to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think that the difference between that is if you find that passion and then you do a podcast, it'll last way longer. Mm-hmm. There was some statistic ages ago that was like, like 98% of podcasts don't go past the first episode. And then of that remaining percentage, 90% of those didn't go past episode 2. So... And I think it's because most people say, oh, I want to start a podcast, and then they think of the topic. I think you kind of need to...
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because obviously if you want to do it, you should do it as well. But don't... Us telling you ideas of a podcast is not how you should get the idea for your podcast, I think. I think you need to work that out on your own. And only do it if you're really interested in it, really passionate about it. And you can, if you want to do, like I said, a games review podcast, you don't have to have that thing that necessarily separates you from ones that already exist. Like if you just enjoy doing that, and maybe you'll find your own kind of dynamic as you go through and do it, And, honestly, part of the reason maybe why I haven't is not so much that I haven't thought about that unique kind of part of the podcast, but because I don't know the right person to do it with, and I don't personally want to do it by myself. So I think that there is, an element of that as well. It's like, it's about doing something that you're passionate about, podcast about that, and find your way after that point. I think that's what you need to do.
And Nelson, there is an idea you've wanted to do for a long time that you actually wanted to do with Stacey as well. So maybe we can get people to put a bit of pressure on her. It's to do with celebrities that you've always wanted to make.
Yeah.
But again, that came from you being like, I'm always fascinated by this and I never really hear about it.
Yeah. Like I want a one-stop shop where I can hear all the good, bad, crazy, weird things a particular celebrity has done. Every episode is just one celebrity and all the different weird things they've done. I actually, believe it or not, tried to do a bit of research for that recently, and I think I almost need Stacey's expertise in the way of gossip, celebrity gossip.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to get these things, how to find this out about people.
Which essentially, again, evolved organically from, I think it would be like you would bring up a celebrity and almost universally, either Stacey or I would be able to tell you a fact about that celebrity. We're like, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love this person. You're like, don't love them. They're the worst.
You'd be like, what could possibly be wrong with Mark Ruffalo? We'd be like, 9/11 denier. I'd be like, God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh, so annoying. But yes, good luck with that, Slimo.
Yes.
We'll listen, unless obviously it hurts this podcast, then we won't listen. But you should do it.
You're welcome to do episodes that just recap our episodes, because in a way that helps our podcast by getting other people maybe to listen to your podcast. Go, what is this podcast they're recapping?
Technically,
so you could have heard it on Reddit.
Heard it on Reddit. Yeah. Technically, Slimo's hobbies, one of his hobbies is listening to this podcast, so it works out perfectly. We've got another one here from Jaden. Hello, gentlemen cunts. I would like to officially apply for the position of anti-fuckhead podcaster. My reasoning for this is I am listening to 3 other Reddit-based podcasts and have contacted 2 of the 3. I almost always listen to theirs first because they come out every day. I'm also from your country's immortal rival, New Zealand.
Here's the thing. You know how I can tell that Jaden is really vying for this? Is he called it a fuckhead podcaster, which is not what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? Great.
You barely listen.
But in a way, well done. Well done. Because you got under our skin almost immediately.
Yeah. You've done a great job. You are, in fact, an anti-fuckhead podcaster. Yeah. I do want to know the one that's coming out every day. Who's doing that? If that's not
I
a
think
bot,
they're the
as
robot
we
ones.
discussed.
Isn't it like r/? It's just like the robot voice?
I have this horrible feeling there's one dude that does it every day. It's like 5 minutes and it's about a random post or something.
Right.
I'm not sure. But he should get a life, am I right? Here's the thing. We know for sure that they would record
a bunch,
all of them in one go. And that's cheating.
Yeah.
We do one a week and we release it that week, sort of. And that is the rules. And if you break those rules, you're a jerk face and you're not really a Reddit-based podcast.
Yes. And it's important to note that none of this is coming from jealousy from our end.
Oh, I'm not jealous at all.
No.
But drop those other Reddit-based podcasts because they suck.
Yeah. In a way, because Jaden wants this, it makes me less inclined to give it to him. Just due to all the heresy that he's put here about listening to other Reddit-based podcasts and writing into them.
Yeah. Here's the things though. If Jaden wanted the anti-fuckhead podcast correspondent, you can get correspondent just by claiming it.
Yeah. That's true.
So, you know,
And
we've denied your
if-
request, but add correspondent at the end of that, and then you've got it.
Yeah, you've got it. Yeah, absolutely. And if this is some kind of 3D chess tactic to make us think that we want to punish that, so in that case, we'll make you a fuckhead podcast listener just so you're the opposite of what you want. Not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
so it was
gonna
smart.
work. Not
Good
gonna
try.
work. It's good try. Well done. But
Yeah,
not
you had
going to
a-
work.
You had to poke around and almost found the loophole, but
We always respect an attempt.
yeah, we got to respect the attempts.
Yeah.
But that's it. Thank you for writing in, Jaden and Zalimo. If you would like to
Also, thank
write
you,
in-
Mitch, for joining us in Podnapping.
Oh, yeah, Mitch, thanks for that. You bozo. Have we finished with the hazing yet? We didn't really say when that would cease. So
Yeah. I reckon we've
from
got
every episode until the end of time, we will now be hazing Mitch. And
Well, okay, you've gone the opposite. I was going to say until the end of this episode, so we need to get them out. But you're saying just forevermore.
forever. We didn't put a time limit
until
on it.
such a time as he ascends to Fuckhead podcast listener, perhaps.
Yeah, well, that wasn't in the contract. I think it's just forever hazing. Yes, but thank you. If you'd like to write into us, you can do so. Reddit podcast, READIT podcast, gmail.com. You can also reach us on Facebook, Twitter, and our subreddit. They're all READIT podcast. We'd also appreciate it if you could subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and rate us. But really, tell a friend.
Yeah.
That'd be...
I tell you what, if you are working from home at the moment, working remotely, and you've got a group chat for your work, maybe Teams or Zoom or whatever you do, paste the link to our show, pop it in there.
Yeah.
You'll get a promotion.
You will get a promotion or fired, which is kind of a promotion.
Yeah. In
If
a
you
way.
think about it, you get promoted when you get in your next job after that.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a really long delayed promotion.
Think of it that way.
Think of it that way. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we will read you later.